Maybe you need to take off my necklace, right? Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Good morning. There are things that are difficult for me to do. One thing is asking for help, and I'm in school, and I'm earning a doctorate in ministry, and to do this, we need to do certain projects. And I'm very much an introvert. I love people, love talking to people, but I am an introvert, so to ask for help is difficult for me. And I'm not asking now, but I'll be asking most likely soon. And I live by about 1,000 different churches, and they either didn't respond or it wasn't going to work out when I asked them. And when I asked here, it was not only like, well, sure, if you need to, it was more like, yeah, we'd love you to. So I understand feeling like I belong here and like people are just cared about here. So it was a very warm feeling when that was actually encouraged. I felt like I was encouraged to do that here. So basically it'll be sitting with people and just talking about my topic, which is belonging. So that to be determined on when, but yeah, that would be what it is. And I've been doing this for a while now. This is the first time I've been late, which I wonder what that says about me. But could be some OCD, I'm not really sure. But it's become more natural and easier for me to get up here and speak. But studies show that people oftentimes would rather do anything but stand in front of people and speak. So I understand it being difficult, especially if it's a vulnerable topic. And usually when I come up here, I feel like these are vulnerable topics for me. They're meaningful and deep, and they spark feelings for me. So I hope and think sometimes they do for other people too. One thing that I've noticed, speaking of vulnerable topics, my husband and I have been traveling a little bit more. We don't travel a lot, maybe, but we enjoy going to different places. And in going to different places, I've seen that people are very much similar and people are somewhat different. One of my most favorite places, I was talking to my mother about it when I was coming here, is Tybee Island. Savannah, I love Savannah. It's an amazing place. Going there in a couple weeks, so thank you. Other places that are pretty neat. A few years ago, we went to New York, my husband and I, and a couple of things that I noticed when I was in New York is a lot of people wear combat boots. Like it's like their combat boot sales must be wonderful. And people are always walking, they're in a hurry, so they need good footwear, I suppose, so they're wearing combat boots. Another thing that I noticed in New York, there was a lot of pigeons. And the pigeons were mainly sitting. They would sit in lines and watch the water. They would sit in clusters in parks, and sometimes they would just sit by themselves, kind of like us sitting in traffic today getting here. But there was a lot of pigeons, and they would just sit. And I don't know what pigeons would do in New York. I mean, it's New York City. You would think, maybe not going to the Met or going to catch a show, but maybe they could find a dumpster and find some fish or so. But they would just sit. And, places are kind of different. So then last year, my husband and I've been to Canada, but this is the first time I've been outside of the continent. My husband and I went to Europe. And what I noticed when we were in Paris is that people just sat like pigeons. Like they would sit in lines looking at the water. They would sit in clusters in parks. And sometimes they would sit by themselves. People just sat. We don't really do that so much here. It seems like we're always moving, and If we are sitting, sometimes it's in our car in traffic, like this morning. Sometimes people, and I've been guilty of this too, will be so busy they don't really have time to sit down and eat, so they'll grab something from a grocery store, run into their car, eat it in a couple minutes, which it's always a little jarring to park and see somebody sitting in the car right next to you. I've been that person many times. And we're just always so busy. We don't have time to just sit. A lot of the times we really don't. And it's sort of a badge of honor, you know. Well, how are you? I'm good, but, you know, I'm really busy. Oh, well, that's good. It's good to be busy. It is good to be busy. So it's like we wear this as a badge of honor. And we even have little sayings like, got time to lean, you got time to clean. Time is money. Idle hands, you know, all those things. So there is this urgency, I think, that we often feel in other countries, I'm sure, but certainly in this country. And that urgency sometimes leaves us feeling overwhelmed, anxious, kind of like we're not in control of our time. And I've talked to people, and this is a very traumatic feeling, like we're not in control of our time. Like our time controls us, like a captor. It can be overwhelming. Sometimes it can be so overwhelming that we burn out, shut down. Instead of tackling the things that we need to do, we just zone out in front of the TV, avoiding things because there's just too much to do. There's this new movement that's happening across the United States. I don't think it's so much here, but I've been hearing about it where people are getting unlimited paid time off. Like you go into a business, you don't get a week or 2 weeks. If you need to take time off, take time off. And the interesting thing is, a lot of times people aren't. You can take as much time off as you need. Just let us know. And they don't. And as we're doing this, and as we're not taking the time we need, and I'm guilty of this too, I'm speaking to myself as well as other people, it builds up, and the pressure builds up, and we're forced to step back. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, we get tired, we get overwhelmed, and we're forced to step back. And then inevitably, oftentimes, something happens that literally does make us step back. There's a really great movie, maybe one of the best movies ever, called Office Space. Right? Yeah, it's old, believe it or not. It feels like it's new, but it was out in 1999. So, good grief, it's like 25 years old. Still applicable, though. So, one of the guys, the character's name is Tom Smowski. He was an employee of this, business, and nobody seemed to like working in this place. If anybody hasn't seen this movie, I mean, it's a really good movie, but nobody seemed to like working in this place, and people were in this place for like 8 hours, and they're told what to do over and over and over by different people. If they make a mistake, it's talked about, and things are implemented, and people have to work on Saturdays sometimes. And there's this character named Tom Smowski. He doesn't like his job. He doesn't like his life. And he ends up going into his garage, turning on his car with the garage door closed, thinking about what's happening, realizes how much he loves his wife, opens the garage door. A lot of you know what happens next. He backs out and gets hit by a car. And then he's in a cast from neck to foot. And people from the office are coming to visit him. And what's interesting is he's now happy. He can't go to work anymore. He has time to just be himself and make this game that he decided to make that makes very little sense. And he's spending time with his family, his grandchildren. He's happy. I think we can all relate to some of that somewhat. And I have known people who something happens and they have to step back, or they have anxiety attacks, or they become just so overwhelmed that they have to step back. So instead of letting time control us, perhaps there are ways to be more still and embrace stillness. And don't allow time to hold us captive with constant thoughts of, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to be there, I need to be here. I mean, we have responsibilities, but do we really need to be so busy? Sometimes we need to just be. Just be like pigeons, be still. Be like people in Paris, just be still. And an interesting thing can happen once we start being still. Things can start coming up. We notice what's in between the lines more. Being still often brings clarity, often enables us to confront deeper feelings. Things just start rising up. Feelings that we might have been avoiding by being busy, sometimes being too busy. And I can tell you that I am guilty of that. As I have been being still, even if it's for a few minutes of the day, things start rising up. Here's the vulnerable part. The thought of Wednesday starts rising up. And I think it happens to many of us. I've talked with people. I talk to people for a living. I'm a therapist. I've talked with people who happens to them. These feelings about the school shooting, they're real, and they start rising up. There is a school of thought that says that when it happens to one of us, it happens to all of us. I don't know. I know I'm not a parent who understands what it's like to be fearful of a child going to school. I know I'm not a child who goes to school fearful of what's going to happen. I know I'm not a family member of a teacher who's devoted his or her life to helping children succeed and not making it out of a place that you should have made it out of. It doesn't make sense. And I don't understand this. And whether it happens to all of us, if it happens to one of us, I don't know, but I do know there's a ripple effect. A ripple effect that we can feel across our nation. It's not supposed to be like this. This is not how it's supposed to be. Children are not supposed to have guns at school. We are not supposed to have guns at school. Children are not supposed to have guns at school. Christian Angolo, Mason Shermathorn, Christina Burimi, and Richard Aspinwall were supposed to make it out. Allowing ourselves to be still, feel the feelings, gain the clarity of who we are, who we really are, that light within us. gain clarity of what we're living through as a nation. It's not going to fix this, but perhaps it'll help us be in a position to feel our true feelings. To feel our true feelings while our country takes a step towards a new chapter on November 5th. Perhaps this new chapter will allow our country to exhale some of the anxiety, some of the noise, and perhaps time will not be our captor. We will be more like pigeons and allow ourselves to be more still. I have a really good quote that comes with us, and to me it sums everything up. And it's about understanding the light within ourselves, within each other, within the world. Having clarity in these things, being out in the open, being talked about and being real. Because talking about things really does solidify our reality. And before I read the quote, if it's okay, I would like a few seconds of silence to honor those who were harmed in the shooting. Thank you. We are not here to curse the darkness, but to light the candle that can guide us through that darkness to a safe and sane future. John Kennedy. Thank you.